We'll call to order the Board of Zoning Appeals. Would you stand for the pledge? Joe, would you lead us in the pledge, please? Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Joe Machado. Here. Veronica Buchanan.
Here.
Gary Farley.
Here.
Jerry Sartain.
Here.
Michael Rather.
Here.
Jared Barrett. Here. Zane Cantrell.
Here.
We have a quorum.
You have the minutes that were mailed out to you. Are there any changes or corrections in the minutes of last month's meeting?
If no changes, I move to approve it.
Have a motion to be accepted. Have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. They are approved. The first item of business we have is a request by Terry and Melanie Hackney, who are requesting a special exemption approval for the establishment of an accessory structure before a home is built. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2018-8 is filed by Terry and Melanie Hackney and involves property located at 1902 Smith Hall.
They're not able to hear you. Can you turn that up? Work on it.
Shall I start over? Okay. Application 2018-8 is the application filed by Terry and Melanie Hackney. It involves property located at 1902 Smith Hall Road. They are seeking special exception approval for an accessory before the principal for property located in the RL zone. The property is a 150-acre site that is vacant with the exception of one agricultural structure located towards the end of Smith Hall Road. But the applicant has come into our office and sought a permit for an accessory structure before the principal for the purposes of storing their personal items while they get their current home ready to sell so they can begin construction on their principal dwelling on this property in the future. And it's anticipated that within 2 years they will be constructing the main home on the property. However, they have already gotten started in the process of purchasing the materials for the accessory structure, and they would like to seek the board's approval for special exception, allowing them to proceed with the accessory structure. We posted a sign on the property. We did receive one informational call. They did not indicate that they were in opposition of the request. And it looks like some work has already commenced or some materials have already been delivered to the property. It was brought to my attention that we received a phone call about some work that had already commenced on the site. The applicant was notified that they would need to get a land disturbance permit, and they came in immediately and resolved that issue. And so this is the site. It's relatively rural back here, and no one will be impacted by the establishment of the detached accessory structure. And that concludes our presentation.
Do we have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around, please. Yeah, just. Have any, if you'll give us your name.
Terry Hackney.
Okay. Do you have any information you want to share?
It's just going to be a pole barn. We plan on building there within the, hopefully the next year. We've got to get out of our house now, so we have a lot of stuff accumulated over the past 20 years. So we need a property.
So you plan on building there within a year?
Oh, yes. Yes, sir.
Okay. And what you want this for is storage of
Yes.
personal items?
Yeah, refrigerators, couches,
Okay.
furniture.
Any questions?
The lumber that was shown on the site, is that for the pole barn or is it for the home?
Yeah, that was a mistake putting it there. The people that we bought the kit from was supposed to put it up, supposed to get the permit and everything. They didn't do it, so I just told them, just don't do nothing. So it was all stopped.
Okay.
It was a mistake.
So it's for the pole
barn, yes.
Okay.
Yes, uh-huh.
Any other questions? Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing.
I move to approve it.
Have a motion that be approved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Any other further comments? Call the roll, please.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Veronica Buchanan,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Joe Machoto,
Yes.
Michael Rather,
Yes.
Jared Barrett,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes, it is approved. The next item we have is a request by Stephen Hughes, and is requesting a special exemption approval, establishment of a major home-based business. Now, this is involving tree removal service. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2018-9, filed by Stephen Edward Hughes, involves the property located at 528 Weeks Road. They are seeking special exception approval for the establishment of a major home-based business involving a tree removal service upon this property located in the RM zone. So you have the aerial of the property. Mr. Weeks is located along both Coleman Road and Weeks Road. He is seeking approval for the major home-based business and also asking that the board allow him to store a bucket truck, a chipper and chipper truck, a backhoe, a Dodge truck with trailer, skid steer that is also used for personal use. This was the result. He did have approval, or he was registered as a minor home-based business in our office and was aware of the conditions relating to minor home-based businesses. However, code enforcement received a complaint regarding the materials that were being stored on the property. Now, the applicant has a legitimate building permit for a detached accessory structure that, if approved, he proposes to use 1,600 square feet of that 3,200 square foot structure that's being constructed for the purposes of the major home-based business. And so these are additional photos of the site. We have received phone calls from surrounding property owners in opposition of the requests, concerned about the condition of the property, additional traffic, and the behavior of the employees of the applicant. And then staff found that the request met some, but not all of the conditions for major home-based businesses. That concludes our presentation.
Do we have anyone here representing this? Come around, please. Gary, do you have a comment before they? Okay. If you'll give us your name and any additional information you want to share.
My name is Stephen Hughes, and I was just trying to start a small tree business over there and on Weeks Road, and just store a few trucks over there of my own to get going, you know. So.
It's my understanding is from staff that you had approval for a small based business there right now, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Why did you exceed that and go over to what you've got today, and then get and then codes has actually found you to be out of compliance?
Well, because I had added a few more pieces of equipment, you know, I had a couple of stump machines and everything, which I have to run my business and stuff like that, and I thought it would be better, you know, to do it that way. I didn't want to be.
Why did you not go get approval from the staff?
Sir, we were not asked
Wait just a minute. Do you prefer?
Yeah, I did go get approval and for a small business.
I'm not trying to cut you off, but I don't think you understand. Yes, you, on the small base business, you had approval for that.
Yes, sir.
You've exceeded that limit on that. Now you're in a situation where you're in a larger home-based business, and you're out of compliance from your original home-based business. My question is, when you exceeded this and you started adding to your business, why did you not come back and get approval?
Well, I didn't really know that I was, had really went over it or anything like that until it was brought up, and I come up here and talk to them and to make sure that, you know, to have it took care of. And that's the reason that I come up here to make sure, you know, I wanted to work it out the right way. I didn't want to get in no trouble or anything like that.
How did you know to do it in the first place on the small base bid? How did you know to do that then?
Just because I knew that I had to have some kind of a permit to have a business out there, you know.
So wouldn't you maybe thought that if you keep getting bigger, you might need to do something a little bit different as well?
Yeah, that's right. I was making sure I wasn't breaking no rules or anything like that, and I thought this might be the best way to go about it, just because I didn't want to break any rules. I didn't want to get in no trouble, make sure that, you know, to get a bigger...
How did the county find out about this? Was a complaint come in from staff?
The second time a complaint was received and the applicant and property owner came into the office to resolve the complaint.
So we found out about it from a complaint.
Yes.
Okay, did you want to
Well, my name's Steve.
give us your name, please?
Steve Peterson. I live, and
Property owner.
I own the property out there, and when we found out, Mr. Farley, what we needed, we automatically went up to the Planning Commission and tried to get all the permits and everything that we needed, but we wasn't sure about the small business versus a large business. We didn't know where we crossed the line until we got a notice in the mail that said we'd crossed the line, so we went immediately that day and took care of it with the Planning Commission, or the ladies up there.
And Steve,
Go ahead. Go ahead. Let him finish his question.
and Steve, I understand, and I know Steve, he knows me, so, but the problem I've got is it had to be a complaint come in, and someone exceeded the limit that they originally had. That's the problem I've got. And then someone comes up and wants to ask for forgiveness after. I just have a problem with that happening.
Well, they told us when we went to the ladies downtown, Planning Commission over here, they told us that we need to move, that there had been a complaint about there were too many trucks. That was the original complaint. So we moved the trucks out. They came out and took pictures, and the lady said everything looks real good, and we got a permit to build a building out there. And the inspectors was out there today looking at it and said it's going up perfect. And but the main thing is immediately, and I've always been like this, and some of y'all may know me, may not, but if you've ever asked me to do anything, I do it right then. I don't put it off 6 months. That's why we went to the Planning Commission right then to find out what we needed to do, and they told us, and we filled out the application for this. We did not know that we needed a major home. We didn't know that. We didn't even know it existed because they only told us a minor, which we took care of right then. And we were just doing it as we were told to do it. We did it, that's all.
Okay, I've got Joe over here, and I'll come to you.
Well, I guess I'm going to point this toward Danielle. I guess with the number of pieces of equipment you have listed here, it's over a major home-based business, is it not, Danielle?
Okay, it is, but in the past you have considered slight variances from those conditions, and it's within your powers to vary from those specific conditions as long as the person lists everything. We have had cases in the past that has occurred. when someone applies or fills out the form for a minor home-based business, they are provided 2 copies by our office, one for their records so they can continually refer to it to make sure that they are well within compliance of the minor home-based business. But when we worked with Mr. Peterson and Mr. Hughes, we went down the list of major home-based business limitations and tried to extract exactly what he was seeking so we would know what to ask for in the application. He was given the option to also rezone the property. However, based on the surrounding development patterns and discussions with staff in our office, it wasn't that this particular site was not a good candidate for a zoning change that would allow his tree service to be located there.
Now, if he adds more equipment than he shows on here right now, that's going to change it from a major home base into a commercial business or not?
No, he would, if you were to approve this, you would approve it as specifically requested. So he would be limited to what he is seeking from you today. If he expands and brings additional equipment, he would be in violation of his special exception. He would either need to come into
listening.
compliance or come back before you or rezone the property.
Okay, I just want to make sure that he heard all of this.
And we realize that, sir, and whatever is stipulated.
Wait just a minute, Jerry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So you were provided with the guidelines for a minor, and you say that you didn't know that you had exceeded those. You had the document. And
The document on the minor that we got, now, I don't know, I don't have it with me, never really specified that you got to have 2 trucks, 4 trucks, or 1 truck.
I'm fairly certain that it does. It's not changed since
like I said, I don't-
2013.
I don't have
so
the paper with me.
you built a building with for personal storage. That was the permit you paid for. But now in your application, you're saying you're going to use half of the square footage in that building for your business.
That's
So-
what they told us we could do at the plant, when the ladies,
You have a hard time understanding what you're applying for and what you're actually turning it into.
well, what they told us was when we applied for the building permit, that he could only use like 500 square foot of the building. The rest of it, I'm going to use for storage, and I've got tractors, I've got all yard equipment that I keep all that grass cut with, I've got tillers, I got trucks, my truck and stuff. That's what they told us it was going to be used for, we could use it for. That's what we were told.
But your application here says now you want to use 1,500 square feet of it
I don't-
for business. I mean,
Yeah.
it's written right here.
That's just to pull the trucks up there, maybe change the oils in them,
It's for your business. Well, I have a problem with what was original and what now is part of a business. And that's
Well, I mean, we were told we could use part of the
misleading
building.
to us.
yeah.
And we were told we could use part of the building to work on the trucks. And
And
park.
so, I was just trying to go about it the right, make sure that I want to work about it the right way. That's the reason I'm here, to see if I can.
Okay, any other
Right.
questions? Any other comments? Okay, you may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing. I'll entertain a motion on it.
Mr. Chairman, it started off as a small business. It met the guidelines. They got the paperwork and they knew what they had to meet those. They've exceeded them. I, for the life of me, cannot see how we can allow someone to go out here and violate this and then want to come up here and ask us to fix it for them. I'm going to make a motion that we deny the request
Based upon,
based on the violations that they've,
previous violation.
right.
Have a second on it.
And I would like to second that if Mr. Farley would consider making that same motion based on the fact that it does not meet the criteria for a major home-based business.
That's fine, but what I'm getting at with that, plus, I mean, if we allow this to continue, and then it's going to be a revolving door up here, and people need to understand that we're not up here to fix it for them. There's guidelines set up in the first place, and when they exceed those guidelines, there's repercussions. So, but I'll add that into my motion.
I'm going to consider this a discussion instead of a motion. Al, if you want, I'll withdraw your motion. Do you have a new motion you want to word now?
I have another question first.
Pardon?
I have one question. If we deny this, he still keeps his minor home business license, is that correct?
He can come into compliance with the minor home-based business regulations, and he would have no code issues at all.
Even after if we were to not deny this?
As a minor.
Okay, thank you.
Gary, do you want to
What are their options? If we deny this tonight, what are their options? Will they have to do a zoning change or?
If he wants to continue using the property with all of the equipment that he has been using, he would need to rezone the property or reduce the activities that are taking place on site to where he's in compliance with the minor home-based business regulations.
Okay. I'll try to do a little bit better job in making the motion.
I just, when there's 4 or 5 things I've marked on here based on the number of vehicles, the adverse effects it has on surrounding properties, the percentage of use of the building. It doesn't meet the criteria for a major home-based business. I look more of this as this is a commercial use. Have it rezoned or move it into a commercial zoned area. This is just not a use that falls under a major home-based business in several aspects of the criteria. So what I was mentioning to you, I understand that they didn't, they had some codes violations, but just based on the application in our zoning ordinance, that the motion would be denial based on the fact that it didn't meet the criteria.
making that motion? I'm looking at you, Michael.
Well,
Yes or no?
yes.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor.
I'll second
You
it.
get that, all of it? Okay.
And I'll
Do you have
second.
a second? All right. Call, did have our public hearing. Okay. Call roll, please.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Veronica Buchanan, Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Joe Machado,
Yes.
Michael Rather,
Yes.
Jared Barrett,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes. The next item of business is a request by SCI Towers, and they are requesting a special exemption on monopole communications tower measuring 199 feet. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2018-10, filed by SCI Towers, involves property located along Veterans Parkway. They are seeking special exception approval for the establishment of a monopole communications tower measuring 199 feet in the RM, medium-density residential zone. The property is a 5-acre property, and they would like to place the tower in the corner of the property here, as you will see in the site drawings. They will need to go through site plan approval if the tower is approved. As we have become accustomed to in the past, we do require the third-party consultant report to be incorporated with the staff findings. Mr. Larry Perry has supplied us with a report indicating that he has taken into consideration the application materials and reviewed it against Section 1105 of the zoning ordinance of Rutherford County, and deemed that the request does meet the guidelines established in our zoning ordinance for zoning approval. These are photos of the surrounding area. We did not receive a phone call regarding this particular application. And as you can see, the site's tucked away in the northwest corner of the property. They have shown in their elevations that they will provide 4 additional antenna locations for co-locations. They have supplied the required letters that Mr. Perry has recommended, and we find that the request meets the criteria for special exception. And that concludes our presentation.
All right. Mr. Larry Perry, who is our resident scholar on cell towers, and he's reviewed this. Do you have a small, minor report to give to us? Or are you going to sit there quietly?
And we have the applicant here as well. Yes.
We'll give him a chance to.
Mr. Chairman and members of the Zoning Appeals Board, my name is Larry Perry. My address is 11464 Saga Lane, Suite 400 in Knoxville, Tennessee. And we've been working with the Board of Zoning Appeals here for many, many years, and it's good to be back here. Again, I miss your wife tonight, incidentally, Mr. Chairman. She usually sits out here. We swap stories. The application here is for a monopole tower. You're all familiar with those. You've seen them around. Now, I'm going to come off gears just a second here, Mr. Chairman, if I can, tell you what to expect downstream. In the near future, between now and 2 years from now, you're going to see a lot of applications for towers. I mean, a lot. They're short towers, though. They're like in the 25 to 50-foot range, because the whole communication system throughout the United States is changing. Right now, this is Verizon, and then this is 4G right now. We're going to go to 5G. And the difference with 5G is the frequency is so short. You're up in the microwave. Anyway, you're going to have a lot more. So just kind of be thinking about this as time goes on. And I'll be working with your staff here to maybe change the rules a little bit as we get closer to that time, because we do need to make some modifications to them, Mr. Chairman. But this application meets all the requirements of our ordinance and all the requirements federally as well as the state. So there should be, if anybody has any question, I'll be glad to answer it. So,
I got a question.
yes, sir.
You said we're going to go through some changes. Can we see some of the big towers come down when the little ones go up?
Probably not. not for several years.
Well, now, what's going on?
Well, the problem is they're changing frequency. It's kind of like, think about this. You got an AM radio station, an FM radio station, and a TV station. They're all on different frequencies, way far apart. The AM at night, I can hear Cuba, for example, coming in here a while ago on my AM. The FM, I can only hear about 8 or 10 miles, and TV is about the same. So that's what we have in cellular. You only got 2 cellular carriers, incidentally. You have 7 companies that are supplying the smartphone service in this area, but only 2 of them are cellular. The other is what we call PCS. And as time goes on, everybody's going to have a smartphone, smart stuff in your houses and everything else, and that's why the demand is there, and that's where the change is going to be. But it's going to be a lot smaller towers.
I think
just
at
thought
some
I'd throw
point in
that
time, you're
out
going
there
to
for the
see
general
all
public
these
so they
cell
know
towers just
that the big towers
disappear.
are not coming
You
down.
will. Yeah, as time goes on, you will. You'll see a lot of the big tall towers disappear because they won't be using them anymore. As the proliferation of the smaller poles, or telephone poles, comes into play, why you'll see a lot of the big towers leave. Because you don't need the 400-foot towers anymore. As you remember, when we first started this in '73, you had 400 and 450-foot towers, and they kept coming down, 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 down. Now we're down to 200 and sometimes less than 100 feet. So And the only reason we have them, the only reason the carriers and the tower people have them now at this level is so we can add more on there, so that you don't have to have a bunch of towers right side by side, which this planning commission is trying to stop. So that's the reason you have the tall towers. So.
Around, give us your name and any additional information you want to share.
Hi, good evening. My name's Craig Parker. I'm actually here on behalf of the applicant, SCI Towers. I did want to just be present if you had any questions about the application, but I wanted to also piggyback on what Mr. Perry said. Back in the mid to late 90s, when cellular communication first started to become more prevalent, it was all about coverage. But now with the advent of smartphones and everyone using them, or most people have them, even most elementary school children have them now, it's about data capacity as well. So if we were just needing to have voice communication, we wouldn't need to have as many towers, but we need more bits and bytes in the air, so to speak. This tower is manufactured to accommodate multiple tenants so we can cut down on tower proliferation. Verizon Wireless is going to be our anchor tenant, and then of course we'll market the structure to allow more wireless providers to utilize the structure so we can have as many carriers on one tower. But if you have any additional questions, I'm here to address those and provide answers.
Thank you. We appreciate that. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing. I'll entertain a motion on it.
Motion to approve it.
Have a motion to be approved.
Second.
Have a second. Call a roll, please.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Veronica Buchanan, Joe Michotto,
Yes?
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Michael Rather,
Yes.
Jared Barrett,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes. Is there any other business to go before the BZA?
No, sir.
That's it. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.